Ready.
Hey everyone. So today it's been a while. I've been wanting to introduce you to my friend Suze Solari. Yay. And Suze is a
Yeah.
stylist. She's a good friend and we've known each other. Do you know how long we've known each other now?
Six
Many years now.
years?
6 years?
Yeah,
About,
I think
yeah.
six. Yeah.
So Suze does one of her passions is she helps people style themselves. I am a
Mhm.
hopeless case, I have to say.
You are not.
But so she loves doing this and she gets very passionate about it. And so I thought it would be really good because a few months ago we had a conversation in here about um so Suze, somebody brought up dressing and expressing
Mhm.
themselves through how they dress, and that
Mhm.
many people have this perception that creative people or artists also dress this way, like they would dress
Mhm.
very expressively. And so then
Mhm.
we kind of went back and forth because the truth is we talked about like Steve Jobs, who wore
Mhm.
what the same thing every day all the time. He
Yeah,
chose
black turtleneck. Yeah.
chosen right uniform, and that
Mhm.
allowed him to not worry about that so that he had creative energy flowing elsewhere.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we talked a couple different places around how that's not categorically true, and that people use their creative energy however they want. And sometimes dressing creatively is really helps them express themselves, and dressing in black turtlenecks helps them express themselves, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it just got us thinking. Like when I told Val, I said, "Oh, I'm going to ask Suze to have a conversation." She was really excited. So Suze, why don't you just so they know, the audience knows, tell them a little bit about your creative, I would say your creative life, because I know right now this is what you do, but you also have a history in interior design. And
Mhm.
so tell them a little bit about your creative life.
Oh, great. So very excited to be on your show, Kelly. um, I am, you're right. I am a creative. I've always thought of myself as an artist. Um, I'm an image consultant. That's what I do now, going into my 12th year of business. I'm also a fashion writer, so I've written 5 books on style. And my formative years, I guess, in Portland, Oregon, where I'm from. I'm currently live in Chicago with my husband and my twin boys. But growing up in Portland, that was before we had Keep Portland Weird.
Yeah.
um, but I think it always was. I always felt a little weird, middle child. Although my mom was very creative. She used to do toll painting, and she was very unique in that she had these 5 kids and not a lot of money. So she just would always take us to all these cool places that were free. And then
Yeah.
she would find classes for us. So we had cooking classes and drama classes. And I remember pottery was a big one that I loved.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, it was the Children's Museum. If anybody's watching from Portland, I think it's still there. So I kind of just had this early, introduction to how to do things differently, right?
Yeah.
Like when you
Yeah.
have not a lot of income, you have a lot of kids, you figure things out, right? So,
Yeah.
and then when I was graduating high school, I found out about a design school in Portland that had a way for me to. I kept thinking sort of practical, like I love clothes, I love design, I love to paint, but what could I do that would allow me to, like, earn an income, right? So that I can, like, get out of my
Do
parents'
this.
house
Yeah.
because that was,
Yeah.
like, the number one initiative. I am 18, I gotta get out of here. So, I used to go the other thing about my story that put me into, like, that realm of wanting to study design was I would come home from school on the bus, and I would walk down to whatever it is, Fifth or something, and I would pass there was a couple little vintage stores I would pass, and I would, like, pop in there because I was interested in dressing differently than the preps, at school who were wearing, like, the whale this was in, like, the late '80s, right? The turtlenecks with the boat shoes and, I wore those, but I was always, like, cutting up my shirts and doing something differently with them. So this love of vintage really fostered kind of a one of a kind, passion for me, and it really led to creating interiors after studying design and getting into, the interior design industry, and I lived overseas in 5 years for 5 years in Hong Kong and Singapore, and I practiced design there. And that really fed the mojo of making creative environments, because there's so much building going on in the 90s, still is. It's like a crane in, every direction that you look in those cities. So I was just really impassioned too by the culture, by all these foreign cultures. So that's where I started to develop more of like a bohemian um, style aesthetic, is how I refer to it with my clients. Is our style statement, might be a little bit less jargony,
Yeah.
and really having fun with clothes, because there was so many different things to choose from, and
Did you find that you
I
had
yeah.
your love of clothing? It's funny because I've known you all these years. We haven't had this specific of a conversation. I don't
Oh,
remember a lot of the stuff if you ever told me.
yeah, it's good.
But
It's good.
that so you were in Asia doing interior
Mhm,
design,
mhm,
and then did you find yourself dressing differently? Like, did that self-expression evolve based on where you were? Or
mhm.
I'm kind of curious how that environment affected your
Yeah.
creative expression.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I don't know if at the time it did. I think I was just, because I had, again, limited resources, so I was kind of buying things that
Mhm.
were sort of corporate-y, because I was in a corporate environment, really.
Yeah.
But I would change things around a little bit with accessories, because I kind of learned early on too, that that's one way that you can, make a
You
look.
can buck the
um,
system. You cannot be so
Totally,
corporate.
right? And
Yeah.
with accessories and shoes and
Yeah.
and handbags, and it's probably where like my addiction came in, because that's another part of my story where I really had a shopping addiction, so I was always
Yeah.
shopping. Um, so I think it's more of a reflection, looking back,
Yeah.
that started to affect my style. Once I was working in the design industry here in Chicago, because it's rather conservative here, sort of a
Mhm.
Midwest mentality. Um, you know, there is definitely in the corporate world, professional world, of women wearing, suits and things like that in the 90s. Like I was wearing, Donna Karan suits I would get at the
Yeah.
outlet, and again, the jewelry is where I could like the accessories were where I start to
Right.
break out. And then it wasn't until I started working for myself that I could really just like bust out of all of those constraints that I had somewhat working in a corporate
Yeah.
field, right? Mhm.
And it's really interesting because for all the times I've seen Suze, mostly we do a lot of Zoom. So I've seen you, even though she lives in Chicago and live in Sisters, Oregon, you're always put together. I don't know if over the years I've ever seen you not somehow, even when you're in your yoga attire, there's
Yeah.
something like you have a certain bandana in your hair or something. So it's really an integral part of your expression in the world, really. Like
Yeah.
many people, like we have many fiber artists that are in this group, right? So their expression goes into the fiber art. Like your expression very much comes through how you choose to put things together, like
Mhm.
the different, like even behind you, right, the different pattern
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fabric
My
and
outfits.
colors. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
interesting expression. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, ultimately, how we present ourselves is the ultimate form of self-expression, I feel, or one of them,
Yeah.
right? For
Yeah.
me, it is for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, putting color and texture and pattern together is, like you said, your creatives understand that conceptually. So just like painting a palette, I know that you paint, Kelly,
Yeah.
um, and your brain is, registering a balance, right?
Right.
It's really fascinating, the science. And for me, and how I teach my clients, is to do that for themselves on their body, like a sculpture, right? So
Yeah.
you are adding, okay, let's add this, let's add that color, let's add this texture, um, this other
Right.
piece, so that you're creating this balance when you look in the mirror. And hopefully, people, they have a cursory look in the mirror before they leave the house or whatever,
Right.
to say, oh, something's not quite right. And your brain is kind of registering that. And so if you have opportunity then to you know be in a creative industry where you can change, put something on that really feels like you're going to show up bigger, brighter. You and I have done some work together
Yeah.
with, branding and marketing a little bit with when I was in a place where I was trying to grow my business,
Right.
and we talk about just the connection to others and having that confidence to show up where you need to be, right? Whatever
Hmm. Hmm.
outreach is your way of connecting with your audience. So like with your
Right.
artists, they're connecting with, their customers, the buyers, collaborators. So when you have an opportunity to make those connections,
Right.
if you're presented in the style in which like you love, that helps you to be that expression of your true self, your true soul. Really,
Yeah.
it's we're souls, right? Living a temporary
Yeah.
existence here on this planet. But when we can make those connections, everything changes, and a lot of that is confidence, and that is what
Right.
I try to help my clients to kind of either expand it or regain it if they feel like, you know what, I used to be stylish a long time ago, or I've
Yeah.
I've never understood that, but I need help with it, right?
Well, one of
And
the things I'll say about this audience is, so we have some really expressive people that have never really lost that. They love expressing themselves.
mhm,
But one of the things I have heard is that as like, and I'm sure you've heard this, as women age, that there's this, as they have to transition, maybe their body changes or they transition this expression, sometimes they become stuck. Like, how do I shop for this changing body in the same expressive way? And then they
mhm,
may be less likely to take the risks of mixing and matching and finding, like, maybe playing. I really love that concept of
mhm,
balance, because
mhm,
even if I'm leaving the house and I'm really wearing, this simple J. Crew sweater with some shorts, I will stop and look. And then sometimes, like, I have a certain belt I'll put on because it changes the color palette, or you're right, it balances the outfit where
mhm,
it felt like a little too plain, and now that little spicy belt gave it a little zing. But I'm
mhm.
thinking, what would you be thinking when someone's like, well, I'm still expressing myself in my art, but my body's changed and I don't know really how to express myself with clothing? I don't know if you
Yeah.
have an easy answer to that, but I feel like it's something
So
that people are challenged by.
yeah, I can certainly try,
Yeah.
because like I'm in my 50s, and I noticed like, oh, my hair's getting more white. What's going on? And so as our skin and hair, even our eyes potentially can change in color, but we lose pigment as we age, and it's just a natural process. And so, what we have to adjust is how we, bring things in, like, and how we layer things on ourselves. Because of that, our style really is kind of always in flux a little bit, and I think that's the thing that
Mhm.
people that I work with don't, um, are lagging, is they're like, well, I'm not sure why I can't find what I'm looking for, right? Because their style actually is changing, but they haven't really stopped to think about that.
Right.
They're like, I used to shop at J. Crew or whatever. Now J. Crew doesn't fit my body anymore. Well, when you go through menopause, so I know
Right.
I've got like this, thicker middle. I'm like, what the
Right.
heck? What's going on here? So yeah, I'm working on it. But J. Crew, for example, if because I've been doing this for so long, I know brands inside and out. I think that's a lot of what people come to me is for my resources. Like,
Mhm.
right now, I'm working on a sustainability series, so it's like, okay, once we decide what you need, we have to go through that process of figuring out what's
Right.
missing, what is coming in, and like, for example, you mentioned J. Crew, their aesthetic is sort of preppy, athletic,
Right.
everything's kind of straight. So curvy bodies don't always fit that manufacturer,
Right.
right? So like
Right.
if you had a lot of curves, I would definitely avoid going to J. Crew.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So part of it is like, where have you been shopping? And a lot of people going through a lifestyle change now. I mean,
Right.
pretty much the planet, a lot,
Right.
the developed world mostly, going through in and out of, a pandemic, staying at home, working at home, now going back to an office. People are,
Right.
corporate people, or a lot of professional women I
Or
work
just
with
going out in the
going
world.
back,
So many
or just
people are just
going to
afraid,
parties,
not afraid, but
traveling.
uncomfortable to get back in the world again. Yeah, like,
Yes, yeah.
go over to your neighbor's
Invited
house
to,
for dinner, right? Or go to a
yeah,
party.
even that's
Yeah.
simple. But I have a lot of
Yeah.
clients that are going to weddings. Like, It's one client I have, and she's in Boston. She's like, I'm going to 5 weddings this year, Suze. Oh my
Yeah.
God, help. And
Yeah.
so we've been doing online personal styling and shopping for her to get her ready for some of these
Yeah.
events were like a week-long event.
Right.
So finding the stuff is really key, to, being able to like update a little bit joyfully, to bring some things in
Yes.
that bring you joy, and not looking at it like a ugh, drudgery. Like a lot of people don't enjoy shopping, and it's because they just have like a right. Like raise your hand if you don't enjoy shopping. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
It's physically tiring. It's mentally draining. When I take clients shopping, I've worked on with you and Jeff like the whole energetic of I get home and I need a nap because it's takes sucks a lot out of you. So if you don't have a plan before you go, you can get going to this like vortex of like I find like it's either one way or the other where they end up buying a bunch of stuff they don't really it's okay. The sales lady told me I look great in it. Okay. And I need it for a party, so I get it. They get it home, it's like, it's okay. And you wear it and you're like, I feel all right in it. But it's not gonna light you up. I'm like, okay, you just spent how much time and the money, of course. And those resources, you can't get the time back. So if you've done that, then you're like, made another mistake. And then so you're kind of like reinforcing sort of a negative like experience with shopping. On the other hand, you might go into the mall. Heaven forbid we have to go to a mall, but depends on where you live. In Sisters, you guys have cute little boutiques and stuff. But you come out, you're like, after 2 hours, you're like, got a pair of earrings. Like, oh, but I still need an outfit. So I really help people use what they have. I think that's one of my
Yeah.
secret sauces is finding the hidden treasures in your closet already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you, so I keep looking over your shoulder at that uh
Which one?
kimono, I guess, with the sweater under
Yes.
it. And
Hmm.
so since we do have so many fiber artists in this group, could you speak a little bit about mixing texture
Hmm.
when you're dressing?
Hmm.
Like, how do you perceive that? How do you balance that? Like,
Hmm.
where do you recommend that? Where do you not recommend that?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's my favorite things. Like I live to make outfits.
I know you
It
do.
just lights me up. And so every day is an opportunity to play and have fun in my closet and to help others do the same thing. So when it comes to color, um, and texture and pattern, those three concepts, um, I'm also using another concept that I call the power of three, which is and all you guys creative guys will totally understand this, just the way that I format the terms is repeating the color 3 times in an ensemble. So for example, I mean, everything I buy I love it. A lot of things just usually naturally just kind of go together because I have this weird way of looking at things. I actually have a language with clothes. Like I'm the clothing whisperer. I kind of joke, right? Like the clothes talk to me and I hear them going, "Ooh, put me over here. Oh, grab me over there and put me with that."
Yeah.
So it sounds silly, but it kind of is true. And so, like for example, with this kimono, it's from Free People. It's from a resale shop. Almost all my stuff is either
Yeah.
online at eBay or there's some local shops in Chicago. And whenever I travel, I look up the cool resale shops. And I was just
Yeah.
in Portland, so I was at Moto Boutique. If anybody's in Portland, love them. It was good stuff. And then this top actually was from like a little store in Michigan, like 2 years ago, and it's just a little knit summer top. And then I think I can't remember. This might have been Nordstrom Rack. It's the gold. Probably can't see it. Gold necklace,
Mm.
but to show you like how like I actually just put this on that this morning because I think I had a different jacket on it and I was trying to just create a little bit of balance in the visual here because
Yeah.
this white background's a little too white, so I got to put some stuff back there.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way that the blue is actually picked up in the embroidery, the kimono,
Hmm.
which is blue here and here, and then you've got the gold in the embroidery, and so you've got the gold necklace, but also the peach just represents repeating this tan. And it doesn't have to be completely matched. It's in the same hue. Like
Right.
you could layer fuchsia and your pink there, and even
Right.
with red. And then you'd have like this cool ensemble of reds, But I'm repeating the key with this power of three is I'm repeating these colors 3 times. And then I would probably wear jeans. I would repeat the blue again. And then I might
Right.
put, like a gold headband on or something, or gold earrings. So you're repeating the gold 3 times. The more you can do that in an outfit, and I would even say as many times as you want. Even with people like Iris Apfel, if you guys follow her, she's
Yeah.
originally an interior designer. She's Centurion. She just turned 101. I love her because she's traveled all over the world and she's got the accessories like, oh my God. She,
Nobody's business.
she has
That woman is
rooms,
like, yeah.
rooms of accessories, right? So
The
I love
beauty about her
following
is
her.
she's not
See what she
attached.
did.
She doesn't have any sort of snobbery around the cheapest
Mm,
plastic thing,
Nope,
or like it
nope.
must all be really expensive. She's like, no, it's all about like, how do I feel? What does this look like?
Yeah.
It's
What is it?
really the
Yeah.
game of it. She's just really
Yeah.
glorious like that. I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's awesome to listen to too. She's so
Yeah.
practical and she's fun.
Right.
Um, but she will pile it on. Like you'll see her create really cool ensembles, but there's a lot going on, right? And
Right.
some people will say to me like, "Oh my God, I think I'm getting like hives," So
Yeah.
it's my style. This is my style statement. I like to come up with 3 words for my clients, but a lot of my clients are very classic, simple,
Right.
architectural, clean. So I always
Mm.
have to help people understand that I'm not going to try and dress them like me,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to dress them for their best self-expression, that
Right.
they can go and do what they're great at, and not have to think about what to wear.
Even just
Yeah.
that, what you just shared about the 3 colors, I think can be very helpful for people.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, even like if we're just honest about hiring a stylist, like the thought for someone who feels so stuck, like for some of these women who feel like, well, I don't know how to express myself. I feel uncomfortable. Like they're so stuck that the thought of hiring someone terrifies them because it feels
Yeah.
like, so at least if they can get some momentum going again,
Mhm.
bring that art, that creative expression into their, whether it's their accessories or the colors or maybe
Mhm.
adding more texture, is something they can, those baby steps towards. And
Yeah.
actually, I don't want to forget that, to put the links to your books down below so people can,
Okay.
because Suze has some really good books that are, your books are simple, they're not too long, they're to the point.
Mm.
I really like that. So they're very helpful. I think many of you would like those books because that's the
Yes.
helpful element. So
And I think you have a dedication, and at least I think in 2 of them. I think I've
oh yeah.
dedicated them to
Yeah,
you.
that's a really good point that you brought up about having your own style, because
Mhm.
there are things that, so I love certain types of art and I love looking at people, the way they dress. I
Mm.
love, like, those are eye candy for me. They're inspiration, other people's expression, but there's no way, I just don't have any desire to dress that way myself. I really
Mhm.
like the simplicity of like, what, I forget what we decided. I'm sort of like the athletic, what did you call it? I forget, there's like a
Kinda sporty,
sporty. Yeah.
and create. I think creative is a word too that we would use, and then um, you do have some feminine things in there, but not frilly. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so you do like to. I mean, but yeah, sporty would be the first one I would use with you
Yes.
because you do. I mean, and you're
Yeah.
always out doing stuff too. So
Right.
you kind of part of it too is sort of function. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
it actually feels functional and easy for me, where I don't want to
Mhm.
put too much energy into it, but I love seeing other people be expressive. I really love watching people dress. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
seeing you come on every time you're in something different, it's really, that's the creative mojo. It's lovely. Or like
Mhm.
Jean, who runs this group with us, Val's mom is also one of
Mhm.
the people that runs it. She always has this beautiful jewelry that I see, and I'm like, I'm
Mm.
always looking at, she's a couple beautiful pieces I notice. Or Val's got, loves to put on certain, Val does a really good job of wearing patterns and jewelry.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
she's
She's
got
got good
that too.
jewelry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's got, that's part of her expression as well. So it's really fun
Mhm.
to see
Mhm.
people's different expressions. So
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like, so let me ask you this, beyond clothing, just out in the creative
Mm.
world, you're doing a lot of creative expression in your work right now, in your work, which of course we've
Mhm.
talked about work and life being not so separate, but do you do anything else right now for creative expression? And no is fine answer. I'm
Ooh,
just curious.
yeah. Oh, that
Like, have you been painting or doing anything?
I have not been painting. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I cook.
There's no
I do
judgment.
cook,
I'm just
right?
curious.
Well, travel and cooking. So my family,
Yep.
I mean,
I
my
didn't know
little
you were cooking.
family, so, my husband is an amazing cook, actually. And so I've
Yeah.
always kind of had like, oh, just let him do
Right.
it. And we do
Jojo.
Iron Chef all the time where I'm like, I got this, try to make something out of it. And he
Oh.
always comes up with something great. I'm like, wow, I didn't know we had that in the fridge. Um, and we've been teaching the kids.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, we got them Betty Crocker cookbooks when they turned 11, I think it was. Joe's mom did that for him. So
Yeah.
Joe's like, this Christmas, we're getting them cookbooks. I'm like, awesome. And now they have these signature dishes. And so it's fun to, you know, teach them and just be
Right.
like part of the cooking and
Yeah.
very creative artistry. And then, the travel, I mean, that's a hobby we haven't been able to do for a while. If you can
Yeah.
call it a hobby, right? So got to go on an amazing trip this year to Spain with the kids.
Yeah.
Joe and I had an authors conference that we went to, and we got to craft this whole trip around that. So I would say that that's something I definitely have. It's one of my core values is to be out in international locations,
Right. Right.
and I just thrive on making connections with people who have different perspectives and different cultures, and it's
Right.
just so cool and fun to get away,
Yeah.
and makes me want to live overseas again, actually. um,
Yeah.
so
Which
who
maybe
knows?
you will. I know.
Maybe you come visit me in Spain someday.
Yes. I got haven't been there in a long time. Yeah. And I think that's
Good.
actually like we're going to Morocco and seeing how people
Mhm.
dress in different places is actually very
Mhm.
inspiring because what
Mhm.
is very common in like here is not common there. What's common there is not common here. So it's a really
Yeah,
lovely way to get ideas for expression. It's really
I
fun.
know. I'm so excited for you guys. I want to come. I know it
Oh,
got
I
like
know.
booked immediately.
Morocco's awesome.
Um,
Morocco's like the color
yes,
bomb. It's just talk
I'm
about
going on.
texture,
Yes,
color, all of these things mixed together. And
yeah,
same thing in Bali where we go. But
yes. I love Bali.
I love that texture mixing. That to me, that's like one
Yeah,
of the key things that often gets lost in the mix. In the
yeah.
US, people are really one dimensional with their like, a lot of people shop at these pretty like Kohl's, Macy's, like these lesser expensive places if they don't feel
Hmm.
confident to go someplace and
Hmm.
buy a couple pieces. And then everything kind of blends. There's not a
Yeah,
very
yeah. There's
expressive,
no
there's no a
experimentation.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. And
yes.
so,
The
there's
yeah.
there's all kinds of things that add to that. But I do think that there is a fear sometimes of like, being too much, right? We talk about that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh, somebody's going to judge me that
Right.
I'm, trying to be fancy.
Right.
So in the past I've had acquaintances or friends say to me like, Suze, like we meet at a friend's house for somebody's birthday, whatever. Suze, well, where do you think you're going? Why are you so dressed up? I'm
Isn't that
like, well,
interesting?
I dressed up for you, for
Right.
me, for everybody here,
Yes.
to get to wear my clothes, to have fun because I
Yeah.
love it. But in the past, I used to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so fancy around these guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to dress down for anybody,
Right.
And
Yes.
the old adage too, like if you go to an event, and it's always better to be a little bit fancier, a little bit overdressed compared to underdressed, because you may feel a little weird either way if you feel like, oh, did I miss the memo? What was the style, recommendation? Like now events, they have all these crazy, descriptions of how you're supposed to dress, and who knows what they mean.
Yeah.
But if you're underdressed, there's just something that you're gonna, oh gosh,
Yeah.
maybe I should have took a little more care, planned a
Right.
little more,
Yeah.
and so that immediate is like a little bit of a hit to your confidence,
Yeah.
right? So
I
that's
love that you
I
brought up
just,
being
yeah.
too much because we've talked about that in
Mhm.
here. Like when you're the same, when you're dressing or you're making something, this all has the potential to generate more incoming energy. People either they're judging you or they're
Yeah,
loving on you. But
yeah,
either way, it's really being able to acclimate to I'm willing to express myself in
yeah,
whatever way that is, and I'm willing to receive that energy coming at me and not
yeah.
worry so much about whatever other people think, that just be
Yeah.
myself. And really,
Yeah.
it's you're leading others to get more comfortable.
Mhm.
Even the person that says, well, don't you think you're fancy? The reality is they wouldn't say that if it didn't ping their own discomfort, right? So it's
Exactly.
really not about that you did anything wrong.
Mhm.
So you might be lighting the way for them to recognize where they
Mhm.
might be able to show up a little more
Mhm.
boldly. It's really fun like that. When you think
Absolutely.
about being the leader.
I'm glad you made that connection because that's exactly what's going on. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's partly why too people wear all black all the time. I get it if you're like a nursing mother and you're washing your clothes all day long, but even people like, oh, I'm from New York and we wear black. I'm like, okay, go for it, wear black, but you're just gonna recede into the background, and maybe that's your goal. You don't
Right.
want anybody to see you.
Right. Right.
Um,
And
but
that was kind of the
you
thing
know,
with the Steve Jobs. And there's an artist, a
yeah,
major fabric designer that does super bold fabric,
Anna
but
Sui.
yes, but she
And
dresses really
Anna
simple.
Sui and Vera Wang.
Right. And there's
And
a
Vera will
choice
wear,
there.
yeah, Vera wears like black leggings all the time, but Anna
Yeah.
Sui wears all black all the time. And they
Yeah.
both are beautiful, make beautiful
Right.
garments that are full of color and expression. And so, yeah, so there is that,
But
like you
I
described in the
believe
beginning.
that's a choice, like
Yeah,
they're actually choosing to step to the background and not be the thing. They're putting these other things forward.
yeah,
But
yeah,
when we
because it's
dress
clutter.
ourselves less um vibrantly or expressively, unconsciously, it's like
Yeah,
then we're just maybe hiding from the world, and we
yeah,
don't want people
yeah,
to see us, or we have
yeah,
embarrassment or something.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I do get it. Black can be really easy, especially like black pants. I mean, it seems like black pants is one of the things that most of my clients have too many of. Like, okay,
okay, I
we're
don't
gonna look
own
at,
one pair of black
oh,
pants. I swear,
thank
one of the
God.
things I did,
Yeah,
we had, this has been years now that we went through my closet, but
yeah,
I really looked at everything and I thought, I don't care anymore what the style is. I love putting on color because the
yeah,
color makes me feel happy. And so
yeah,
really I'm less inclined to be like, I'm more putting it on because I like the vibrancy. So it's
yeah,
rare. I have some black out like shirts. I keep them because I love
mhm,
the shirt, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
rarely wear them because as soon as I put them on, I feel meh. I don't feel
yeah,
great.
meh,
I
meh.
love how color makes me feel. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
feeling.
So
And
I love your color sense too, and your the graphic things and floral things that you wear, and like fun
my
pants, like
Gandhi shirt that I have, I love.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
I love all that
yeah,
because it adds to your, playful, curious, fun, spirit. And I
yeah,
get that immediately. Like my brain like immediately knows that about you,
yeah,
right? So I don't have to think like, oh, you know,
what's she really
what does she
like?
do? Well,
Yeah,
oh, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
make
yeah,
it
yeah,
easier on everybody,
yeah,
I will say
yep,
that if you are going to wear black, like if you're wearing texture, so like lace,
yeah,
you know, a knit, right? Like a crochet piece or something that had fringe or tassels or,
right,
like this kimono, the kimono, I love kimonos, has these cool tassels and it's not all black,
right.
it's got a print in it. It's got these really amazing sleeves. So there's a lot going on with it. But yeah, I think it'd actually be hard pressed to find a black kimono that wasn't like a bathrobe because like a kimono itself, the aesthetic of that is very like bohemian, very 60s
Right.
bohemian, right? Like
Yeah.
caftans and maxi dresses and very like the feeling of like Yves Saint Laurent in Morocco, right?
I
Like
know.
channeling that. So
Yeah.
yeah, someday I'll go with you guys.
Yeah. Well, actually, your outfit today is a really good example for anyone thinking, where do I start? Susan's
White
outfit's very
t-shirt.
simple, right?
Yeah,
She's a white
white
t-shirt
tank
on,
top.
but she has
Hmm.
this lovely piece that's like the display of the little party that you're carrying around. I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
Party. It's the
a
hero
party on
piece.
you.
I
The
kind of
hero
talk about
piece.
like you can have like one hero piece and then simple everything else.
Yeah.
And then the necklace is just you love the story of this one. I had this chain for something else, and then my friend Peggy, who's a jewelry artist,
Oh yeah.
she got these pendants on Etsy. You guys can see just really
Oh
pretty
yeah.
glass. And I had her put it on one of these little carbiner, which is just you can unfasten it to stick it
Yeah.
on there. And what's cool is it repeats the plaque. because it's
Yes.
oxidized, right? So it kind
Yes.
of has the black look. Like I always say, everybody needs a little bit of black jewelry or
Right.
oxidized silver, right? Because it ties in,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then my earrings, I mean, you can't, I got these, things on, but these are my
Yeah.
sparkle, so my
Right.
3 words would be like, you know, I kind of feminine, bohemian, and like shiny,
Yeah.
or sparkly or
Pizzazz.
shiny. So I'm so shiny,
Yeah.
you know.
I love it.
So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Suze. I feel like this is great information. I really like that when we came on here, I wasn't really thinking of this, but how it connects to the fiber arts, like really thinking
yeah,
about even the hero piece.
yeah,
How some in a piece of art, there's often, I forget what Jean
like
calls
a
it. She has a name
focal
for it, but like,
point of some kind, or
yeah, like you have
mm-hmm,
the stranger, the odd piece
mm,
that you're like, oh, but it becomes
mm,
that hero piece because it
I love
moves
it.
the eye. It's like really
Yeah,
interesting piece. So
yeah,
anyway, I love this conversation.
I know.
So I will make sure to
So
put
good.
Suze's contact information below this. You
Yep.
guys can check her out. She's always sharing, and you have a membership program for a
Yeah,
monthly
I help.
membership program.
I wish I can help in so many ways. If you're just like, want to like dip your toe in, you could always watch one of my videos. I'm always doing some kind of a series. It's on my Facebook group. It's a private group, but I also put them on YouTube. If you're, depending on your level of social media care,
I know.
um, or whatever. And then the books are, $5 for a digital
Mhm.
book. 4 of them are available to print. The last one I did, the 5-day closet cleanse, I did during the shutdown. I
Yeah, I
love that
remember
book,
that.
but I haven't bothered to put the manuscript into a printable form yet because there's so many links and things in there that's
Yeah.
really useful as a digital book on your iPad. You can just really easy to read anywhere. You can get a Kindle if you're with Amazon, or it's also on iBooks. And all my books are
Yeah.
like wide. They call it wide, which is like Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, other retailers.
Good.
iBooks, right? iBooks. Yeah. So
Good.
yeah, the other thing is I do have it's like a PDF that you can download. I have a link to that I can include too, which
Okay.
is like something to get you some momentum right now, like 3 things you could do. I call it my 3 tips to crush your Zoom calls. So, and that just connects you to my community where you get information on workshops and things that I'm doing throughout the year. So,
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks,
yeah.
Suze. I'm
Oh
glad you got to
my
share
gosh.
some things with me that I couldn't either didn't remember that you shared years ago or didn't know about, your creative childhood. So awesome.
Well, it's just been so much my pleasure. I love talking about this stuff, and I love talking
I
with
know
you.
you
So
do. That's why I
it's
was like, I
been
have
a
to bring you on. You love
perfect,
talking about it.
perfect morning. Perfect morning. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, my
Suze.
darling. We'll see you soon. Mm.
Oops. Ah, no. Sorry, I got to find the stop button.